I mind seeing somebody. Yeah.
You gonna say that?
Page. Ooh, good.
We're on page 64.
We were at Interior New York City Bar Night. Bottom 64.
Yes. All right. Everyone good?
I think Hunter's getting his page.
Okay.
Sorry.
Rest-
It's not like we have all day. It's okay. Okay, ready?
All right. Interior New York City Bar, night. We see a smartphone read the date 3/7/2025. As the screen fades to black, we see this reflection of Ben Grimm's face looking somewhat confused. We cut away to see that he's sitting in a bar with Alicia.
Something wrong?
Yeah, one sec, sorry. Yeah, it's just, you see, Susie got me this new phone thing, and I'm not quite sure how it works.
Did you do all the setup stuff?
Yeah, she helped me with that, put all the contacts in.
It's really not that complicated. Try giving me a call.
Ben reached down for the phone as gingerly as possible, his fingers obviously too large for it as he tries to enter his passcode. As he presses the screen lightly as he possibly can, the phone snaps into pieces.
You see what I mean?
Alicia stifles a laugh.
Did she really not try to get one that you could actually use?
She's nice and all. They all are. I think sometimes they just forget I'm just not like everyone else.
Alicia reaches over to caress Ben's hand.
You are just like everyone else, Ben.
Thanks.
Alicia's face suddenly shifts to convey her social horror.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that.
No, it's fine. I get it. I'm just like any other Joe on the street to you.
God, you're such a dick.
Ben chuckles as he takes another sip of vodka. A silence falls over the table for a moment. Alicia's hand retracts from Ben's.
So, when are you gonna let me touch your face?
Ben stalls for a moment.
I've been putting that one off for a while, huh?
I think I get it. I know you're insecure about it, but I love you, Ben, and I have no idea what you really look like.
Ben grumbles for a moment.
You're one of the best things that's ever happened to me. I guess I just don't want to scare you off.
I know who you are, Ben. You're a superhero with a heart of gold. The bedrock that holds your family together. No offense.
Not taken.
What I'm trying to say is, I know you too well to leave you over a scary face.
You ain't the first person to tell me that.
Alicia's gaze shifts to one of more sympathy.
Can we talk about something else?
Alicia perks back up.
Okay. How's the rest of the family doing?
They're good. I really got to introduce you one of these days. Reed's been finalizing this building deal to get us base off operations again. Starting to look like we're finally getting to business.
More hero stuff? That's fun.
Yeah, the world's finally going to know us for more than appearing on boxes of cereal. You can only milk the whole heroes for another World of Gravy train for so long without doing an actual heroics.
Interior, Collins Tower lobby, day. We see a pair of businessmen in the lobby. One of the two is Walter Collins, the owner of Collins Tower. Collins is an older man, 50s to 60s, with graying hair, who holds a cigar in his hand.
You've got it all figured out then?
Figured out. Boy, I just made the real estate deal of both the 20th and 21st centuries. 5 whole floors of Collins Tower now booked to a bunch of popular freaks. Keep your eyes open for just a second and think about it. Every time there's a story about the Fantastic Four, that's free press, good or bad. When I tell you I'm gonna make a fortune with this, I mean every last syllable of it. Just imagine for one moment how much that does for a place like this. How much we can jack up the property value for a building about to become so tremendously famous.
A murmur suddenly passes through the lobby as Walter looks to the entrance. He laughs before pumping some hand sanitizer on his hands and rubbing them together.
They're here an hour early.
The Fantastic Four enter the building. Ben and Johnny take a moment to look around, taking in the building, as Sue and Reed approach Walter.
Mr. Richards, Mrs. Storm, how are you both doing today?
Wonderful. Really, it's good to have a new place to call home.
It might just take a while to unload everything. I'm sure it's no issue whatsoever.
We cut to an establishing shot of Collins Tower, where we see 20 U-Hauls trucks pulling up. Interior, Collins Tower, lobby, hours later. Walter sits dejected and antsy as with the same businessmen behind them. Ben is lifting a machine clearly assembled from scrap 5 times his size.
They've been unloading for 5 hours now.
It's only their first day. Once they have it all unloaded, I'm sure things will be better.
Walter turns his head for a moment, unsure.
Let's hope this isn't a sign that we bit off more than we can chew.
Interior, Collins Tower, lab continuous. Reed checks off a box on a spreadsheet. Sue stands not far away, looking over a few machines. Their hastily sketched blueprints.
To think, a few months ago we were struggling to make ends meet. Now look at us.
Reed cracks a smile and as he makes a note.
I hope you're not too happy. There's something I need to show you.
He leads her away a short distance and throws a tarp off a laser weapon, just barely small enough that it could theoretically be shoulder mounted.
At the current level of technology that both this world has to offer and that I can think to create, this is the most dangerous weapon on Earth.
Sue stood up, running her hands along it, the gears visibly turning in her head as she tries to decipher exactly how it works.
This is what you've been working on then while I've been working with the rehabilitation center? A bigger gun?
It's not big enough.
What do you mean?
This weapon here is the pinnacle of Earth's research and resources. It alone took millions to perfect. What we saw a few months ago, Galactus, I couldn't scratch him.
The silence is deafening.
My machines could only get a few readouts on Galactus, and of the ones I could even remember, his energy, his density, they were unlike anything I've ever seen before. If he, or something like him, were to ever come back here, I couldn't make anything strong enough to stop him.
Surely there's something we can do.
We're talking about forces of power far in excess of anything this world could produce throughout its entire lifetime. I can't match that, Sue.
Sue seems distraught for a moment, looking down at the weapon again.
Nothing that could steal that energy either. No battery big enough, but what about transferring it?
What?
If you could make a machine that could transfer this level of power from one being to another?
Sue spends a moment in thought.
Say Johnny's surfing friend were to come back here. We could steal his power and use it ourselves.
Galactus and the Surfer could both unleash their power at will, as though summoning it from somewhere like turning on a faucet. Energy readings would be dormant at some times and spike at others. If they wanted to, they could just shut the proverbial valve off.
Then all we'd have to do is talk the surfer into helping us. Get him to give up that power willingly.
This is getting a bit too hypothetical, don't you think?
We've always looked towards the best future, Reed. We've always tried to see the good in people and make the world better for them. That's what the Fantastic Four is all about.
I talked with him, Sue, the Surfer. He entered my office while I was firing up the quantum relocation device.
You told us about that, I remember.
He wasn't the kind of person who could be persuaded to help us. I couldn't see any humanity in him at all. I understand what you're saying, Sue, but I don't think I can devote time to working on the device you're describing if I don't think we'll be able to use it.
A real end of the world doom and gloom kind of guy.
Reed and Sue look over to see Johnny entering the lab, hands covered with Cheeto dust as he snacks from a bag.
Why are we talking about him anyways?
No reason in particular. If I find cheese dust on any of my things, I'll know exactly who to blame.
Johnny's eyes widen into a guilty look as he leaves the room.
That's about it for inventory on car 17. I'll go check up on Ben downstairs.
He gives her a quick peck on the cheek before leaving the room, leaving Sue to fixate more on the laser weapon. Interior, bank, night. You're Robert 4. Under the cover of night, we see a group of armed men sneaking into a bank. Though the lights all remain off, we see one of them step into a silent alarm as they continue moving. The bank is considerably large, as the group of a dozen splits up to grab as many valuables as they can. We see them rifling through registers and stuffing as much as they can into sacks. Suddenly, a hushed whisper falls over the group as the camera settles upon them.
I thought I heard something.
The group draws guns and continue moving. As they pass by a corner, they're suddenly surprised by the sight of Johnny.
Why?
The group opens fire, showering Johnny in a hail of gunfire, yet he seems completely unfazed, all the bullets stopping a few inches from his face.
Oh, looks like the bullets have been stopped in midair by some kind of invisible obstruction. Now, can you folks think of any? Now, can you fuck? Shit. Okay. Now, can you folks think of anyone who might have done that?
Sue suddenly appears behind the group, surrounding her fist in a force field as she punches them all against each other, letting them topple like dominoes.
That was a good line, wasn't it?
I think you're spending too much time with that spider kid.
We cut elsewhere to see another group of 3 robbers dashing away with as much as they can carry, until suddenly they literally run into bed, the darkness making it hard to see the group draw guns on it.
Whoa. Take it easy, guys.
The group fire their bullets, each one bouncing harmlessly off of Ben, while one ricochets into the leg of another of them.
See, I was trying to tell you guys, you're wasting your bullets on me.
The criminal writhes in pain on the ground. Ben looks unprepared for the situation.
Reed, Sue, one of them got shot.
The surrounding group simply stands in a befuddled awe as Ben takes a look at the wound, worried he'll do more harm to the group than good in dressing it. A moment later, Reed stretches in from the torso up.
Where's the rest of you?
Busy.
We cut briefly to see the final 6 criminals tied up in Reed's leg.
There you go.
We cut them to the criminal's POV as he is slowly losing consciousness. Reed rushes over and takes a look at the wound with a nervous expression.
We'll have to make an emergency tourniquet. Johnny, I need you to get an ambulance.
As the criminal fades from consciousness, the visual and audio of our POV does as well, until we're left in a void of darkness for a few seconds before suddenly reawakening. What at first seems like just a bright light comes more into focus after a few seconds. Interior, hospital room, hours later. As the room comes into focus, we see the Fantastic Four surrounding the hospital bed of the criminal.
Beat.
Can you
hear us? Can you hear us? Yes, he should be fully conscious.
Hey, pal. I'm really sorry about that. Probably should have warned you guys first thing that shooting me wasn't a bright idea.
We cut to the robber's face. It's hard to believe anyone can open their eyes so wide.
Beat.
Fine.
Cut back to POV shot.
Fantastic Four Inc. will be covering your medical bills. Honestly, we did not mean for this to happen.
I mean, you know, you try to rob a bank and all. You don't deserve to get a shot for that. You're probably still gonna go to jail anyway.
Yeah.
We cut once again to the criminal's shocked face before the scene ends at last. Interior, Collins Tower, lab, day. Reed watches security camera footage of Ben stopping the robbers, his eyes scanning it over and over again. Franklin sits in a crib nearby.
Not our best showing for our first time back in the field, eh, Frankie?
Franklin coos and swats at empty air. Reed picks him up and starts to carry him as he walks around the lab. Much of the machinery is still covered, not properly set up. They stand instead as menacing monoliths.
I know it's not home, but it's the best we can do right now.
Reed sits down and pulls out his wallet. As he flips it open, we see a picture of himself, Sue, Ben, and Johnny, sometime before the accident which made them into the Fantastic Four. The 4 of them are having a picnic and smiling for the camera.
Maybe I should have done more to change the way we're seen here. Or maybe not. You think they like it? Living like celebrities? Going on press tours? Seeing their faces on cereal boxes?
Franklin cannot respond properly, still far too young to understand what Reed is saying on any level.
At least Johnny likes it. With the rest...
Reed closes his wallet.
Sometimes I just wish I could make us all the way we were before.
Beat. Reed stands up and walks to a nearby machine, grabbing its tarp in his hand.
You think they forgive me, Franklin? After everything I've done? You think they can?
Reed pulls away at the tarp. His eyes spend some time on the ground before he slowly looks up at the thing he has created. Unmistakably, it's another quantum relocation device.
Do you think they should?
One of Reed's machines starts blaring alarms, then another, then another. Within only a few seconds, the entire room starts blaring with sound. Franklin begins to cry as Reed holds him close. The father tries to calm his son as he starts looking at the machines. We don't see what Reed is seeing, but a perplexed look comes over his face.
No, that can't...
He moves to another machine, looking at another readout of calculations and estimations. Reed's face begins to contort in horror at the sight.
No. No!
He looks out the lab's window suddenly, on a whim, to see the Silver Surfer standing just behind it, floating in midair.
No!
The Surfer walks through the window as if it wasn't there.
You're much more clever than the other creatures of this world. Or of your last world. Now that there's... Not that there's very much difference.
Reed's hand slips behind his back as he begins stretching to reach the laser rifle.
I was hoping you'd be more open to conversation this time. I want to understand what makes a creature such as yourself fight so hard to survive under these inevitable circumstances. Your lifespan is already very finite. Thank you. It is not.
Bro said that.
Is it
was
not?
wrong.
Sorry.
Yeah, get it right next time. Reed's hand
He hates
reaches.
you.
Reed's hand reaches the laser rifle, sliding open its glass container and grabbing it, but it's too heavy to lift with just one hand, and Reed is still holding Franklin.
You're trying to grab something? How does that saying of your kind go? Now is not the time for that.
Now's the time for something else.
The surfer turns suddenly as Ben Grimm appears from thin air, landing a pulverizing blow against the surfer's chin.
Uh-oh.
Even he cannot fully absorb the force of the punch, flying to the other side of the room, leaving his board floating in midair, dazed but unhurt.
It's clobbering time, you space freak.
Whoa!
Sue,
Slobbering time.
Slobbering time.
Sue and Johnny appear. Sue and Johnny appear next to him, literally appearing from invisibility. The entire Fantastic Four now stands united against one enemy. Reed's arm reaches back to put Franklin in his crib as the FF spring into action. Johnny lets put a cry of
Flame on!
before bursting into flames. He and Ben race forwards, with Ben grabbing both of the surfer's arms as Johnny flies behind him, unleashing a torrent of fire upon his back. Sue surrounds his body with a force field, acting as an airtight seal, in an attempt to restrict his movement. All attempts fail. The surfer ignores the force field and the flames, pushing Ben Grimm aside just in time to give Reed a clear shot with the laser rifle. The surfer's eyes barely have time to widen in shock as the beam hits him, sending him flying past the wall into a wall of the lab into another room entirely. A smoking impact is left in his chest. The surfer takes a moment to stand, his eyes beginning to light up and crackle with cosmic energy, but he suddenly cries out in pain, the shock of attempting to access the remainder of his power in this weakened state, damaging him further.
What have you done?
The rest of the four approaches him as the surfer sits dumbfounded for a moment. He raises his arm and fires a blast of kinetic energy from it, only able to use a fraction of his true strength. Seeing the blast, Ben Grimm steps in front of it, which knocks him aside but leaves him relatively unharmed.
I'm alright. You guys get him. I'll be there in a minute.
Beginning to panic, the surfer stands to his feet, firing a dozen more blasts. Johnny begins to fly towards him, skillfully maneuvering around the blasts before delivering a punch to the surfer's face. Much to his surprise, not only does he feel it, but it hurts. A moment later, Reed pounces onto him, stretching his body all around the surfer to restrain him while keeping the laser rifle in his arms. He tries to launch one last blast directly at Reed, but finds both of his hands surrounded by force fields which prevent him from traveling anywhere.
This time, you're going to answer my questions.
In a panic, the surfer mentally summons his board. For a moment, we cut between it and him as he mentally struggles to even bring it to his side. After a moment, however, it floats up to him and he steps onto it. At blinding speed, the surfer spins around, forcing Reed to flee his body before he dashes through the wall out to the New York City skyline. Unfortunately for him, Reed aims the laser rifle once more and fires it across the skyline. The beam cuts across the surfer's back and he screams in pain as he falls into the streets below. As Sue, Reed, and Johnny look out at the city around them, Ben joins them from behind.
So what's the plan?
Reed turns to face the rest of the four.
The last time the surfer was here, he didn't summon Galactus until after he had circled the entire planet. The fact that Galactus still isn't here must mean that it's something he needs to do, and it's something he hasn't done yet. We'll have to split up. Johnny and Sue, you both fly through the city. Ben and I will take the new Fantastic car out for a spin. Whatever we do, we can't let him get away.
Sounds like a plan. This one's for the old world.
Exterior New York City's 2025 streets moments later. The surfer lies down on the street, laying a hand against his aching chest.
Republican Party.
Jesus Christ. Jesus.
Cross handshake.
The surfer lies down on the street, laying a hand against his aching chest. He hasn't felt so weak in a long, long time. Even his breathing has grown heavy and labored. As he struggles to catch his breath, we hear a familiar voice.
Hello? Is someone there?
Alicia walks through the streets, listening to the breathing and zeroing in on it as she gets closer and closer, until she's mere feet from the surfer.
Are you okay?
The surfer mumbles something, although his words are clearly marked by pain.
Come on, back home.
Oh my god. Okay, come with me. I'll take you to my apartment and call an ambulance. Okay.
She reaches out, unsure of exactly where the surfer is, but he reaches back to grab her. Alicia's jaw drops.
You're metal?
I need a place to stay while I regain my strength. You mentioned you had an apartment?
Riz.
Interior, Alicia's
Riz one.
apartment, moments later. The lights in the studio apartment are off.
Dang.
There are no paintings or photos on the wall. Rather, it is filled with sculptures of various people, mostly head busts.
Sweet.
In the corner, there are a number of rocky approximations of what Ben Grimm's head might look like, sculpted from clay. Alicia is in the other room, heating up a kettle.
Can I get you something? A sandwich? Tea? Coffee?
Beat.
Oil?
Unnecessary.
Alicia comes back into the room just in time for the surfer wave his hand above a coffee table, draining it as it collapses into ash after a moment. She feels a rush of heat, but is unaware that the table is gone until she sits down and tries to place her tea onto it.
Where's the table?
I converted it into pure energy on a subatomic level, consume the energy.
Alicia stands stunned for a moment.
I should like to do the same to everything else in this room. I must rebuild my strength.
Wait. Can't you consume something else? I'm using those. They're my livelihood.
They won't matter. Once the great devourer comes, and he shall, as soon as I have summoned him, much the same as what just happened to your table will happen to the entire world.
A look of pure horror crosses Alicia's face.
You mean Galactus?
The surfer turns to face her, his eyes narrowing slightly.
Exactly. Yes. You know Galactus?
Ben, a friend of mine told me.
Alicia sits back down, taking a moment to soak in everything.
Then surely you know how inevitable it is. This world will die, and there's nothing you nor I can do about it.
Alicia looks up suddenly, puzzled.
You?
It is simply the natural state of the universe. All things must end. Once one accepts that, they see the truth. That resisting that death is futile.
Alicia pauses for a moment.
What exactly happened to you? How did you end up here?
I was flying across this planet seeking to learn everything I could about it when I was interrupted.
To learn then?
The surfer looks at her, confused.
You could have summoned Galactus at any time, but you didn't. You wanted to see this world first. In all its beauty. That way, at least it would exist in your memory. I'm right, aren't I?
The surfer looks down for a moment.
You don't want to serve Galactus?
You don't understand. You could never understand. If I did not take my place as his hand, my world would have been destroyed.
Alicia stands up, almost outraged.
That's not right. You have to know that. You've seen this world, and maybe dozens or hundreds more like it. You flew across them and saw how beautiful each and every one of them was, and then you watched them die. You don't believe what you were telling me about the inevitability of death, because that's not an excuse. You just needed a way to justify what you were doing.
Stop it.
That's unnecessary.
And the Oscar goes to Brett
Stop
Eckler
it
for
now.
Silver Surfer.
I don't want you to destroy
That's
my
how the Oscars are
planet.
these days.
Remorse crosses the surfer's face for the first time.
Do you have a name, stranger?
It's Norin. Norin Rad.
Well, Norton. My name is Alicia.
Exterior, New York City, 2025, moments later. I never know if I should give it a second or if I should just...
Should.
Reed and Ben hover above the city in a flying vehicle, reminiscent of their original technology and aesthetic, but with some modern touches. Their eyes scan the streets below, still looking out for where the Silver Surfer could have landed. Suddenly, Reed gets a phone call from Walter Collins. He answers it with only a moment's hesitation.
Hello? Richards! What the hell is going on up there?
We cut to the streets below where Walter Collins, I want to say Cronkite every time.
love
Walter
it.
Collins stands at the base of his building surrounded by broken glass on the ground.
Not even a week is by tenant, and you're already breaking windows. I sent a janitor up there to take a look, and he reported not just broken windows, but walls and floors, not to mention a robot looking after an otherwise unattended baby.
Reed lets out a sigh, this being the least of his worries at the moment.
I promise you, Mr. Collins, I'll have this all sorted out soon. The entire fate of the world rests upon... Don't you fate of the world me, Richards! I'll show you the fate of the world if you don't give me an explanation. We were fighting an alien. Oh, and you expect me to believe that? If we're going to stay your tenants, Mr. Collins, you're going to have to believe a whole lot more than that.
Reed hangs up just as Collins is about to shout at him again.
What a prick.
I don't think we'll be convincing him to rename the building anytime soon, so Collins Tower it is.
Just doesn't have the same ring to it.
Hold on. I think I'm picking up a power signature.
Interior, Alicia's apartment, moments later.
Oh, Norman Rad. I forgot.
Norman.
Norman.
Rad.
Yeah, his name is Norman.
Norman Rad.
Norman. That's my gamer tag.
Norman Osborn.
That's very rad.
I would resist
Norman
Galactus,
Rad.
but he has shown me the truth. He is not merely a being, but a force of nature. As there is gravity, and as there is radioactive decay, there is Galactus.
But surely, you have to know of something that can stop him. Or at least stall him? How long have you been with him?
Hundreds of years. I've long since lost count. In that time, I've seen him shrug off supernovas. I've seen him laugh at I can't say it.
Singularities.
No gravity, no pressure, no nature or unnatural phenomenon was ever great enough.
The surfer stops suddenly.
Yes.
But there was one thing. A weapon which he kept. Stop looking at me. A weapon which he kept upon his ship at all
Say
times.
that all
Dude,
the
she's
time.
fucking blind.
Yeah.
What is
One item which brought him pause.
She blind.
By the time I saw it, the thought of resisting had already long passed my mind.
All of a sudden, the door shatters down as Reed Richards stands behind it, still wielding the laser rifle. There's a crazed look in his eyes.
Yes!
Yeah. That's
was-
exactly how I'd act it out if we were filming it too.
In a panic,
With a pause before, yeah.
Yeah.
Millennial pause.
Wait, she's blind. How does she know they're coming to kill him?
She
She's
hears
just
the
doesn't-
gun.
Doors
Oh.
busted.
No, I
Hears
don't.
a gun.
She's gun frequency.
someone
hearing
just broke
stomping.
down her door.
How did she? Maybe.
Well, that's
Well, okay.
Maybe
this is
Norman
what I was
Osborn
imagining.
did
it's like an
They
American
kicked
dad.
on the door, and then
Okay.
she just
Sam
hears.
Smith's about to shoot.
Okay, it's because it's a
And then
laser rifle. I
he's
like
got-
to think
he's
it's
talking about
that, but then it's
Wait,
also
I'm blind. I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
He's like, oh,
like
okay.
it's like starting
Then,
up.
then like
He's
halfway
like,
through the
laser
episode,
rifle
he's like,
starting.
wait a minute.
In a panic, Norin raises his hand to fire another bolt of kinetic energy, but Reed swiftly dodges it. The rifle in his hand beginning to charge, growing ever more worried as Alicia screams for the intruder to stop. Norin suddenly speaks, his words ringing not just through the room, but across space and time.
Galactus, your herald summons you.
All at once, the room goes quiet as Reed's face fills with horror. The laser rifle in his hands powering off as Ben comes in behind him.
Alicia, I thought I recognized this place.
Ben, what's happening? Who's here? What's going on?
This is Reed, the smartest guy alive.
Panic bleeds into Reed's eyes. Exterior, space, 1966, continuous. We hear the surfer's message as it passes impossibly through the emptiness of space. It stops at the ship of Galactus. Interior, Galactus' ship, continuous. As the message enters Galactus' ship, it rings throughout the empty halls filled with technology beyond imagination. Finally, we pan over as it reaches the unmistakable form of Galactus, only seen through his prone head as he rests vertically upon his ship. As the message reaches him, we cut to the empty black void where his eye should be, as a bright light suddenly pierces that darkness. Galactus is awake. Interior, Alicia's apartment, continuous. Sue and Johnny rush into the apartment to find Norin sitting depressed in one corner of the room, while Reed lies on the couch, either deep in thought or trying to cope with this situation, perhaps both. Ben sits next to him, looking up as though he tried to comfort his friend and gave up. Alicia nervously drinks tea, her hand shaking as she tries to bring the cup to her lips.
What's happening? I rushed in. Come on.
Yeah.
It's the ends.
We're falling apart.
It's the end, Sue. Galactus is coming for this universe now.
Norin audibly weeps in the corner. Oh my god.
How many more billions? How many trillions? How many oceans of life?
Johnny charges angrily towards Norin before grabbing him by the neck and pinning him against the wall with one flaming hand.
This is your fault, isn't it? You brought him here again. You can't just leave it. You can't just let it rest.
Johnny, wait.
Wait.
It ain't got nothing to do now.
Wait.
was my fault.
Johnny turns to face Reed.
Oh, you bitch.
I,
He has been
you
more
sorry, you know
times
how I
by
get
the time.
sometimes.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
I was so caught up with seeing him as an enemy that I couldn't see the ways in which we were alike. I tried to kill him when I shouldn't have, and he summoned Galactus because it was the only thing he could think of to save his own life.
Galactus isn't here yet.
It takes about 15 of what you call minutes for the Devourer to cross between the universes. My power, unfortunately, is still inaccessible, and there is no weapon in this world which can harm Galactus. The only thing which might stand a chance of harming him is in his ship within the other universe.
An idea suddenly fills Sue's eyes.
Mr. Surfer, I'm sorry. We never properly introduced one another. I can't talk. We never properly introduced one another.
That's canon. I am Norin Rad.
Hello, Norin. I'm Sue. Do you think it's possible to transfer your power into another being?
Well, yes, theoretically. It could reach in and transfer the power cosmic. I cannot access.
Sue, please tell me you aren't going to spend our last minutes alive pulling an elaborate I told you so.
I don't have to, Reed. I already built the thing.
Sue becomes the center of attention in a fraction of a second. Interior,
me for real.
She's
in-
just like me.
Interior Collins Tower lab. Moments later, we see Herbie gently rocking the cradle of baby Franklin as Reed, Sue, Johnny, Ben, Alicia, and Norin suddenly bust in and circle around a mechanical device no larger than a coffee table, the cosmic transfer machine.
Sue, how did you?
I'm not the only one here with a couple degrees under my belt, and I had a bit of free time. It's not as perfect as one you may have built, but it'll do for now.
So what's the plan?
Well, the plan for you is to stay right here where it's safe, no offense.
None taken.
Galactus should arrive in 9 minutes.
And how fast can we go with your power?
Roughly the same time. 15 minutes there and 15 minutes back.
So we gotta hold Galactus off for at least 30 minutes. We couldn't even hold him off for 3 before.
We know what we're up against now. Even if Norin can't help us... What are you doing?
Yeah, hold him off. That was a on right there.
Hold him off.
Even if Norin can't help us fight, he knows Galactus better than any of us. Now we just need someone to transfer the power into.
Traveling to space universes is no simple feat. I would recommend someone who already has the ability to fly at incredible speed.
All eyes turn to Johnny, except Alicia's.
Wow.
Wow.
That makes more sense now that she's blind.
Now that she's...
To me, now she's blind. I missed that before.
Jacob, this is unusable. I'm so sorry.
Unusable for what?
Purposes. He's recording.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Is it even still going?
Oh, wow, okay.